Hello everyone, it's been a while. I hope you are doing well. As you can tell by the title of the video, I'm going to try to explain the nuances of the Pyro class in a clear and easy way to understand, and I will give a few tips to help in future Pyro encounters you may have. Before we begin, why would you believe anything of what I'm about to say? Well, I'm in Pyro. I do so in competitive TF2, and it is my favorite class in the game, so I have put quite a few hours into it. I am very far from being the best Pyro in the world, but I hope my long experience will be enough to convince you. This will be an answer to a video I watched about why the Pyro is a hated class. I will link the video so you can watch yourself and give the creator some credit. I will not be contesting directly everything he said in the video ad lib, but I will mostly be talking generally about it based off the points he made. First off, what is the actual role of the Pyro class? In this video I will be mostly talking about the Pyro in a more casual situation, since that's what most likely you will find out there. Space Guy, the creator of the original video, implies that the Pyro doesn't have much of a set role, except for, quote, what Valve intended, which is a flanking class, kinda like Scout. I very much disagree with this. The Pyro can be a flank class, but it mostly excels especially on supporting classes like the Medic and the Engineer. The Pyro is the most effective class at protection, be it a Medic, which is a class that, let's face it doesn't have any reliable methods of protecting himself, an Enginest, or, well, the Objective. Being it by keeping spies away, destroying sappers with the Homewrecker, extinguishing teammates when enemy Pyros attack, air blasting projectiles away, and enemies that might be a threat, and so on. This is, in my opinion, the standard role of a Pyro. This does not mean that you cannot just be an aggressive Pyro looking for kills if you so desire. You can do whatever you want. At the end of the day, you play this game however you want and, well, just so you can have some fun. Something that bothered me in Space Guy's video was the statement that Pyro is only really good against Spy, which is a common misconception, which is, well, plainly not true. Soldiers and Demomans are very much ineffective against Pyro, due to his ability to reflect projectiles, which, let's face it, are the bread and butter of those classes. Even if a soldier pulls out his shotgun, there are many ways you can make it hard for him to win the fight, like airblasting him around to disrupt his aim, not to mention that they are way slower than you in movement. Medics will very rarely survive fights against Pyros either, again, due to their lack of reliable defense methods. The only classes that really counter Pyros are the hitscan classes, Scout, Heavy, Sniper, and the Engie. So that brings us to start the number of classes the Pyro is effective against, from 1 to 4. Moving on to the weapons, something that people talk about a lot is the fact that most weapons boost the most annoying mechanics of the Pyro, instead of encouraging the most skilled base ones like, well, air blasting projectiles. While I agree with this to some extent, and while most of Pyro's damage mechanics are based on crits, they are, in my very humble opinion, either very high skill based mechanics or just really not that hard to counter. The Flog and the Backburner both have massive damage output potentials, but they are both really not that hard to deal with. The Flog completely eliminates your ability to fight against soldiers and demos, so they become effective against you. For example, if you are a Demoman and you see a Pyro taunting to activate the Flog crits, just put 3 stickies under his feet while he taunts, and as soon as he snaps out of the taunt, you just detonate him. And the Backburner, besides the increased ammo consumption for air blasts, you have to flank and sneak behind enemy lines, which is much easier said than done since the Pyro does not have the Scout's mobility. Even when using mobility enhancing weapons like the Power Jack or the Thermal Thruster, you are more vulnerable to damage while you use them, and you will most likely be seen. When it comes to using crits as a mechanic, the flare gun is not an easy weapon to use consistently. Not to mention it does not one-shot most classes, it actually deals a maximum of 19 damage. Sure, it's enough to cripple most scouts and spies and medics, but you still just won't one-shot them with one flare most of the times. The score shot and the detonator are much more accessible and used, but the damage they do is kinda low, and they are mostly used as a harassing tool instead of necessarily a direct way to make damage. And for the melee weapons, like the extinguisher, the Pyro puts himself at a higher risk to be able to hit you close by. Another common complaint that people have is the Afterburn. While I must admit that at times it is a very cheap way to get a kill, Afterburn can be dealt with in very easy ways, and most people don't seem to understand that the duration of the Afterburn is proportional to the amount of time the flames are being applied. If you go to the TF2 wiki on the fire page, there is a list with 30 different ways to either extinguish or mitigate the damage enough as to not kill you from Afterburn. They are all mostly class and weapon specific, like the Deadringer, but it's still a very useful thing to know. For example, did you know that touching the cards, being healed by a dispenser or a medic for 1 second fully extinguishes you? Or that the Sydney Sleeper can extinguish allies if you scope shot at them? I would like to finalize my defense essay of the Pyro by talking about the infamous WM1. Yes, I know, the elephant in the room. Let's try to understand why do Pyros do it in the first place. The shortest answer is because it works. Most newbies start off with Pyro in Team Fortress 2 because it's a class that can land you kills more easily than arguably any other class if you just installed the game 5 minutes ago. In a game where all classes take some kind of skill or knowledge to even try to get one single kill in the first place, with the Pyro you can just press that good old mouse 1 button and walk forward and you will eventually get some kills. And at the end of the day, that is exactly the point of the game, is to have kills, it's to do something, it's not to just walk out of spawn and instantly die because you have no idea what the hell is going on. But just think about it for a second. If you find yourself in front of a WM1 Pyro walking towards you, that's a very easy kill for you, isn't it? You know for a fact he won't airblast you if you're a soldier or a Demoman, and you know that his movement won't be out of this world, so you can do something about it even if you are a Pyro yourself. Sure, you might take some damage, you might be set on fire, but that fight will still be yours if you just stay calm. Most people just go berserk mode and panic when there's a Pyro walking towards them. Did you know that the WM1 thing mechanic, whatever you want to call it, is used a lot in high-level competitive TF2? Even Pyro players with the highest skill level in the game will still use WM1 very frequently because it is a very effective way to deal damage. Now, to end the video, I will explain how to deal with Pyros for each class. These methods, I would like to point out, are not bulletproof. They assume you are battling a mildly skilled Pyro, and there are a lot of variables that can change depending on the situation. So keep in mind, the fundamental to fighting a Pyro is about 8 out of 10 times you will be set on fire, and there's really no way to avoid it. On Scout, you want to kill the Pyro as fast as possible, and do not fear him. You can try to use longer range secondaries like pistols to deal damage before you enter into his range of flames, or you can just walk up to him and meat shot him. Ideally, you would shoot him about 2 times, then change to the pistol and just finish him off as quickly as possible. On Soldier, it's a bit of the opposite. You need to be careful, you need to time your rockets well, and if you have it equipped, interchange with the shotgun. If you are using a banner or the gunboats, then you need to wait until the moment you are sure the Pyro won't be able to airblast your rockets back at you, which is either right after he tries to airblast you during the cooldown or when he changes weapons. If you do know how to rocket jump, I would strongly advise you to just jump away from the Pyro, because at the end of the day, a smart, alive soldier is better than a brave but dead one. On Demoman, you want to do the same as the soldier. Be careful and time everything very well. Focus on using stickies. Grenades are a bit harder for the Pyro to airblast since they are faster than rockets, but if the Pyro does airblast it back at you, it will be very bad for you. So if you're not sure if you can take the gamble, just play it safe and use the stickies. The way you use the stickies is you place them on the ground as a way to keep him far, and you just back up to give space between you both. This should give you an opening to back away from him safely, or if he walks up to you, you just detonate. Pyro versus Pyro is, well, it's kinda cringe. If you have a shotgun, airblast the enemy Pyro away, shoot him with the shotgun, rinse and repeat until he dies. If you don't have a shotgun, well, you can either run away, which is probably what you should do, or if you really have to fight, you can try to run in circles around him while pressing your mouse 1, while WM1, keeping the flames always on him to make the most amount of damage. You can also, in some cases, use the map geometry to push him away into a certain position that it will be harder for him to also shoot you with the flames. Heavy is the easiest class, pretty straightforward, just don't stop shooting him. Don't try to run away, you will not make it, don't try to hide. Just spun down as quickly as you can and don't stop shooting. For NG, you want to bait the Pyro towards your sentry as much as you can. Don't try to take it up one-on-one with him. If you have a level 3, it's pretty simple. Walk up to the sentry blasts him. But if you are running mini sentries, you want to force the Pyro into a standoff. So you want him to decide between you and the mini. The way you do it is you run towards your mini, but don't stand right next to it enough that he can damage both of you. You stand far enough for him to have to either destroy it, allowing you to shoot him freely in the meantime, or if he ignores it and runs straight at you, then the combined damage between your mini and yourself should kill him very quickly. As a medic, your chances are very slim. It will be very hard for you to ever survive a 1v1 versus a Pyro. If one ever attacks you, the best thing you can do is just run towards your teammates so they can kill him as quickly as possible for you. If, however, you have to fight, the best chance you have is to use your melee weapon interchange with your primary weapon, but probably 90% of the times you will die. On Sniper, it's easier to keep him at bay before he can reach you, so you just headshot him while he's far and you kill him. But if he walks up to you close enough, the best that you can do is to body shot him on scope to do a bit of damage, and then use your SMG to finish him off. If you are using a backpack or you just don't have your SMG, interchange body shots with melee. It will be very, very hard for you to survive, but that's the best you can do. If you have the Gerardi, do not try to save the Gerardi to extinguish yourself, because it's very likely that you will not survive to even use it, so throw it as early as you can to deal the most damage as quickly as possible. Finally, as Spy, you either risk the backstab, knowing that if you miss you will most certainly die, or you keep your distance and use your revolver, harass the Pyro with a few shots, and if he turns to you, you cloak. But you have to cloak far enough away from him so you can run away without him knowing where you're going, setting you on fire, giving your location away. In a very close 1v1, I would honestly just try to shoot him with my revolver and kill him as fast as I can. With that being said, thank you very much. I'll see you later.